Hey there, everyone. It's Matt from the Literary Gamers, and I'm joined by Jen today.
Hello.
And we're going to be taking, not really taking a look, but we're going to talk about Merchant's Cove for a bit. Merchant's Cove from Final Frontier Games, designed by Carl Van Ostrin, with Johnny Pack and Drake Villarreal, with art by the Maiko, is the newest big asymmetric Euro game out there. And it's quite something.
Yep. One to four players, 60 to 90 minutes, ages 14 and up. And it's a big mama.
Yes.
She's big mama.
Okay. So, full disclosure before we start, this was sent to us by Final Frontier Games. Thank you for sending that along. Carl Van Ostrin is also a very good friend of ours. And we were really happy to see this game grow from its original concepts to what it is now.
So we first played this in 2018, Labor Day weekend, and Carl had presented it as Town Square, a 3 to 5 player game with very similar concepts that everyone was playing a different character with different things. That one character you had a dice mechanic, another was worker placement. You get the point. It wasn't necessarily those things, but everyone had a different mechanic that they were doing. And we liked it. Our concern, of course, was that it didn't play at 2 players, which for Matt and I is almost an essential at this point, I would say. So when Carl had said that he had gotten it signed with Final Frontier, of course, you're like, yay, for your friend. And to see it come all this way from the original product that we saw to this big mama high production is just like, how can you not be happy for a friend like that, right?
So we played the base box. We spent many days playing the base box. We will be talking about the expansions as we start playing them. So all that we're going to be talking about today is stuff that's in the base. Now, I will say, for those of you who are getting prepped for the arrival of your Kickstarters, you can fit it all in one box. It's possible. You just need the want and drive to do it.
You got rid of all the inserts, correct?
One insert remained, and it was the one for the boat.
Oh, okay. We're also not going to do a how to play in this video. I think that would be beyond our capabilities. There's a lot, and we would need a how to play for each separate character, which I'm sure someone will do. So never fear. Weight wise, this will probably end up in the 3 range for for BGG. But once you get to know your characters, it's very easy. So I played all the characters in the base box, and you played all of them except the
Chronomancer. I missed out on that one. So I'll give you a generic idea of what happens in this game. You are trying to make goods by using time as a resource, and trying to match the color of the good with the meeples that are coming in. And if you have, for example, if 3 red meeples come into the large good area and you have 2 large red goods, it's the total amount of the points multiplied by the amount of matching meeples on the harbor you're in. And then there's these mechanics with endgame scoring that can beef you up a lot. There's corruption. So pretty much this is very asymmetric. For example, the Chronomancer uses a rondel mechanic. The Alchemist uses a marble mechanic.
A la Potion Explosion.
Yes. The Blacksmith uses a dice mechanic. Mm-hmm. And the Captain actually uses a spinner to move around.
Say that again, Matt. The captain uses
a spinner.
Oh, my gamer heart. So I'd like to address that to begin with, because I know there's going to be a lot of thoughts. I'm going to be nice. A lot of thoughts on that. And so the captain is the one character that I've played the most. When we played this right before it went off to Kickstarter in June 2019, I think I sat down and I was like, a spinner? Because I'm going to say what you're thinking. Aren't spinners in mass market games? Oh my goodness. A spinner in my designer board game? Hold on to your pants. It's going to be fine. Matt. Yeah. Oh, gamers. I love you, but... Ooh, wow.
Somebody actually commented that once they... on the Kickstarter page, I was all in until I saw that spinner, now I'm out. And I'm like...
Get over yourself.
Have you tried it yet?
Like, get over yourself. And then don't buy the game and don't play it then. If you're going to be that butthurt about it, then I don't know. Look at his face. Yeah, I said it, folks. So how is a spinner any different than rolling dice? So rolling dice to me is no different than a spinner. It's not. Like, I don't understand that. Because if it's random movement and that part... You still have options within the spinner, and you are flicking the spinner to move your boats. So you can decide where to move your boats. You have choice. You can do that. Wow. Oh, again. Whew. Big girl pants on. I love the captain. I think the captain is probably one of the easiest to play and easiest to learn to play. And part of it's fun. Can you... Like, didn't you feel like a kid again of sorts when you were flicking the spinner and being like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to get?
There's a nice little bit of nostalgia thrown in there.
So that's the end of my rant on that. I'll let Matt talk for a bit.
Not sure what else to say about the different characters. We just kind of covered the basic idea of what they each do. If you really do want a closer look at each of the characters, let us know in the comments, and I'll do separate videos of the characters and what you have to do to get them all moving. But one of the best things, and it's universal to each character, is the staff. You have to have staff if you want to win. Though you did win once with the captain without ever hiring a person, I will say that.
I had perfect spinner moves every single time.
I took way too much corruption for me to win at all. It's like negative 80 points or something like that. Anyway, that's besides the point.
And we'll talk about corruption momentarily.
So you're going to be hiring people throughout the game, also by using time, and you're going to be putting them on top of a little small piece of cardboard, and they all have specific actions to your character. And there's 4 spots open, and each character has remove 1 corruption from on their staff board. So that's the only thing that's universal. But there is an action that you can choose where you can activate basically all of the staff, and you get to do 4 actions for the price of 1, which is actually quite a deal. Especially if you can get that working early, because the game only lasts 3 rounds of time, 12 to 12, with some things get added on through time. So it's all about time.
It is. So there's a bit of a programming aspect in how the game on the surface goes. So Matt referenced corruption. So in the bag of meeples that you are going to be selling to, there are... Rogues, thank you. That in some variations of the game, in terms of how it's set up, rogues can be helpful for you, but you can take corruption to turn them to a red worker or a green worker.
Yeah, those are the cultists, I think.
Okay. So they kind of clog up the boats. You don't want them, but you also don't want a lot of rogues coming out on the boats, because after you've sold to 2 of the 3 boats on one side and then 2 of the 3 boats on the other side of the dock, all of the ones that are in the 1 boat on each side are going to be taken out and they go into the guilds. So corruption is good and bad to take. So you're going to want corruption for your end game goals, because some of the corruption cards, you'll get certain amount of points for every single red meeple that is in its guild, but you're also going to get negative points for how many corruption symbols you have on a card. And there are a couple of cards where there were 3 corruption, which is not good, and it's a multiplication system in almost everything that's in here. So if you have 7 rogues in their guild at the end of the game and you have 10 corruption, that's a lot of points. So that's a lot of points. There are single cards where it's just 1 corruption on there. So there's this definite balance of how many positive points you will gain versus how many negative points you will lose.
There's also some cards some corruption cards that say you may discard this type of good to discard this corruption card, which can be good or bad no matter how you look at it. As far as the characters go in the base box, I did not play the Chronomancer, but you gave me the impression that it was the most difficult of them all.
I think I had a definite brain fart when it came to how the tiles will go in there, and finally my brain melded and it went. I think it might be the most advanced in the box, but I think once you get the flow of it, it's a lot of fun because the tiles are changing and you do get flexibility in how you set up of sorts. And then you do get to choose the tile that you put in the spot where something has fallen out of the time continuum of. But in terms of play, I would say that I didn't dislike any of the characters that are in the base box. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I would agree, especially, I mean, I've only played 3 out of the 4, but each character is very unique in their own way. And, I mean, that's what makes this game really truly asymmetric. And we've played a bunch of other asymmetric games before, and really, when you kind of get down to it, they all kind of do the same thing. This one, you are definitely all doing a different mechanic. Yeah, it's like everyone has their own little mini game. That they have to pay attention to the larger board, not just focus so much on their own little thing.
Yeah, and I think that's how Carl had described it too. You're each doing your own little mini game, and we've called it like a Mario Party.
Kind of, but you're playing the same mini game through the whole thing. Yeah.
So you're probably asking, why would I want this over Root, or why would I want this over a coin game? If you're not familiar with what a coin game is, it's those kind of big mama games that are from GMT. There's a whole series of them. Or why would I not want whatever? I think the closest comparison you're going to get is to Root. Now, we owned Root at one point, played it at 2. At that time, I don't think it was great at 2. I think you needed the full 4 to make it really work.
That may have changed now.
Could have changed. If it has changed, let us know in the comments. But I feel like this game works fine at 2.
Oh, this game is amazing at 2. Played it with 3 and played it with 4. And it just works so well at 2. The actions are snappy. You're just kind of going back and forth. You and I can usually get a game of 2 in about 45 minutes.
Yeah. Neither one of us has analysis paralysis. And I would say, too, I mean, you're still very much interacting with each other, because the points where you're interacting are when you're loading up the boats for the boats to come into dock, that where you'll be selling your goods to. I can definitely see when you're working on a blue large good, I don't want to load up a boat on the large good side that's going to benefit Matt, unless it's going to benefit me too.
There's a little bit of that take that mechanic. But
there is, but if you are working on blue goods, then you might want, a boat with a lot of blue goods.
Basically, what we're trying to say is there's something here for everyone, folks.
What?
Yeah. Even the spinner.
But dice, Matt. There's dice in here, yes. And there's marbles, and oh goodness.
There are 3 expansion characters, all of which have we haven't really discovered much about them yet, but like I said, we'll be having other reviews about the other characters as time goes on.
So the character that you've played the most is the Alchemist.
Yes.
So why don't you talk a little about the Alchemist?
The Alchemist, you have this interesting system of there's 3 rows of marbles you can take from, and you basically announce a color when you put your character down on the spot that's for that row, and you take that color, and there's also black marbles, which have another mechanic, but they're a wild, basically. Unless you fill your cauldron up with all black marbles, and then your cauldron explodes. So what's really cool, though, is as the marbles fall in the decanter, if those marbles are still the color you called out, you still get to pull them, and that was really, really neat, because the Alchemist can... The first few times might seem like because we were having trouble having the Alchemist win. But once you start really learning the character and figuring out what it's got to do, it can be quite powerful.
Yeah, so there is a bit of randomness in all of the characters, I would say.
That's why it's called a game.
And not a puzzle.
A game is an activity that invokes an element of chance.
Yes. I feel like that's a video for another day.
Yes.
Where you and I can have a rant about that. But so the scores can be very close together, or they can be very far apart. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a lot of endgame points again from the corruption cards that you've taken, and then
the guild symbols.
The guild symbols. Yeah. And I think it flows very well. I think this game, again, at 2 players, is very snappy. Once you know what your character does, you get it done in 45 minutes. And artwork by the Maiko, very good.
This is the tiniest thing, but it made all the difference. When your score piece goes completely around the track, you actually take a red ruby to indicate that you have 100, instead of stacking another one of your pieces on top, or getting just a cardboard chit that says 100 on it, or 200. So you're collecting these rubies on top of that, and it was just the tiniest thing for me that made quite a difference.
Yeah, I'd agree. So component-wise, you're getting a lot in this base box. You're getting a lot of different pieces too. So when you figure that there's 4 characters and they each have their own accoutrements that are very different from every other character, I think some people initially were like, oh, the price point. You're getting a lot of stuff in here. Mm-hmm. You're getting a lot of customized specialty stuff in here. You're getting marbles, you're getting dice, you're getting boats.
Laser printed meeples, I believe.
Laser printed meeples, full color, good quality cardboard. You're getting miniatures too for your characters, which were fine. They, not the best that we've seen. I don't know if you'll end up painting them or not.
I'm going to try to paint the miniatures.
And then this big huge board with all of the cards, and there's different staff too, different combinations of staff, so it's not the same staff every setup. The
game recommends you have 2 different styles of staff, and I think there's 5 or 6 different styles, and you combine everything. Maybe there might be 8.
So this was Final Frontier's biggest game that they've done so far. It is part of the larger universe that they have created.
The 5 realms.
With the 5 realms. We had previously played the Robin Hood game. Mm-hmm. And we've played Drawn to Adventure, which shows up in another review. And this is definitely our favorite.
Yeah.
I hope that they continue, wink, wink, things in this universe. So what would you rate this, Matt?
This is one of those games that I can already see in the running for at least in my top 10 of the year, if not close to the top. This gets pretty much, I think this is a 9 out of 10 for me. I really do enjoy it a lot. 9 out of 10.
I'd agree with Matt. I think this will definitely show up on a bunch of innovative games of lists of the year. I can't see how it would not, because of what it does within there. There's no other game that I know of that does this. So that right there is amazing.
You're going to have one person saying, all the mechanics in here are not innovative. So,
oh. I'm going to get a Mr. Crab itty violin for you. If you're one of those people, sorry. Oh, well for you. So I'm the terrible rater. I'd probably give it an 8.5.
A solid B.
But I'm cheapy cheapskate. Sorry, Carl. We love you. We know you. We love you.
I gave your game an A, Carl.
So I'm really excited for you all to get this to your tables and for it to come in and for you to finally get to play it. Any final thoughts, Matt, before we close out this shebang?
Like I said before, if you really do want to see how each character plays out, let me know in the comments below, and I will, if you really want that, I can do a video on how each character plays. But there are probably already plenty of videos out there that do that for you.
But they want the Matt.
No.
Okay.
I don't even want that.
All right, folks. This is Merchant's Cove from Final Frontier Games, designed by Carl Van Osteren. If you kickstarted it, it should be headed to your doorsteps pretty soon. If you were thinking about doing finding it in a retail setting, I would hold on. I would not put a lot of eggs in those basket, because they've already made it fairly clear in a lot of the forums that if you're gonna want this game, you're probably gonna have to go to their website and pre-order it. That the quantity that they had produced for an FLGS is going to be very small.
Basically, if your FLGS didn't back it, you're probably not going to see it in the store.
Yeah.
So go pre-order it. That's your best bet.
Yeah. I'm Jen, and this is Matt. We are the Literary Gamers, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.